You heard from Patrick Witt about the group he brought together on yield. Crypto came in and said, look, we want to negotiate. We actually want a reasonable compromise here and a reasonable approach to yield. And the bank sat there and listened and offered nothing. Well, that's not going to last long in Washington if the group that is holding it up, the banking industry, is unwilling to negotiate on something that has to be resolved to unlock market structure. It will be resolved. It's going to be rough going, but it's going to be the president will have a bill signing ceremony on market structure, on clarity, before Memorial Day.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are coming to you from the Ondo Summit in New York City. I'm Jen Sanasie, here with my co-host Andy Baehr, and we're now joined at the desk by Ondo Finance's Vice Chairman, Patrick McHenry. Chairman, great to see you again.
Hey, great to be back.
Yeah, great. So the last time we spoke, actually this is a lie, we spoke in between, but we saw you at the Ondo Summit last year.
Yes, last year, yeah.
You were just joining. Talk to us about the last year. What have you been up to? Give us the highlights.
Well, the highlights for Ondo is that we've taken global markets and we're able to bring it back to the United States. That's a substantial change that the Trump administration has opened up for American investors to have new opportunities. It also means that the United States is emerging as the crypto capital of the world, just as the president outlined. And it's being done not just with crypto native assets, but traditional securities being brought on chain, and we're getting all the value out of that. And thankfully, Ondo has been at the lead, and the market structure regulatorily has not changed, but the market is speaking about the Ondo products, and Ondo's emerged as the global leader in bringing real-world assets on chain, and we hope the next year is going to be even more so.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay, Andy. We had Patrick Witt at the desk earlier today. We were talking about market structure legislation, talking a little bit about the meeting that happened yesterday. I've asked you this before, but how much FOMO do you have watching all of this happen?
So what I'm excited about is it's actually getting done. We got so close on stablecoins, so close on market structure. We actually produced these big votes in the House when I was chairman, but French Hill's done a fantastic job, and I think both the House and Senate and the White House has enabled a massive change in policy, and I'm glad to see it. I'm really glad to see it. I didn't think it was going to happen so fast. Genius happened so fast.
Well, when I spoke to you last year, you told me this moves very slowly. It could take a very long time, and then it happened like that.
But I'm half right, because market structure has been really slow and very complicated. Thankfully, we have people like Patrick Witt at the White House that are pulling on this, and the president's prioritized market structure. But it's going to be a tough thing to get this yield question resolved and get a compromise.
So the legislation is important, but as someone who always felt like our regulatory agency should have been merged after the financial crisis, when you hear harmonization between the SEC and CFTC, a message that was just repeated recently, isn't that just a good feeling? Like, doesn't that help the rest of the financial services industry?
So if you're regulated by the CFTC and of long standing, you're concerned about the chief of staff for the chair of the SEC coming over to the CFTC. You don't like that. But for those of us that look at these agencies and say they should actually work together, this makes complete sense.
Right.
And the fact that Selig is so adept and capable, it's a great boon for the agency, it's a great boon for crypto, and a really fantastic thing for America and our competitiveness, our market competitiveness.
When you think about how retail investors generally behave in the United States, a lot more people have brokerage accounts than futures accounts. Right, people don't usually have their retail investing and trading activity regulated by the CFTC. That would be a big change. That feels like that's going to take a while, right?
Yeah, that takes a while, but the harmonization question is of major substance. The idea that you would have a stablecoin regime, a securities regime, and a commodities regime, and therefore have to have three apps to do one thing, is really stupid. Like, it's just bad public policy, doesn't make sense in the marketplace. That's not It's not good for consumer behavior and choice. And so harmonization between those three products makes a lot of sense, and actually know that you have fit-for-purpose regulation of those three products standing next to each other on the same screen has been the goal since before Dodd-Frank, but certainly after Dodd-Frank more so.
Now, you've pointed out correctly, Ondo's been in the lead when it comes to wrapping up traditional products and getting them to be available elsewhere. What about things coming the other way? What about things like DeFi yield, crypto native stuff, or blockchain native forms of finance that we also want US investors to have access to, but also consumer protection?
Well, DeFi is without a proper approach to DeFi, we're not going to have a market structure bill. Plain and simple. The benefit of crypto is born out of decentralization, and without DeFi, decentralization cannot actually meet its full potential. And this is traditional stuff in a securities market, but put in a digitally native way, approach that is faster, better, cheaper, and therefore will cost you less to actually get lending. We're seeing this bear out on tokenized products versus traditionally regulated securities products. The lending on the tokenized product being cheaper than the lending on your traditional security. So the market's speaking on this in a major way. That's why these Ondo products that have been global products are coming onshore, because there's a major demand for being able to trade 24/7 in a digitally native property and get all the benefits of crypto on these with these other traditional products matched up.
Do you think we're going to get market structure by midterms? You bring up DeFi. We spoke a little bit about the stablecoin yield conversation that's happening between the exchanges and the banking association. And then there's this question of ethics. The Wall Street Journal published an article yesterday bringing the president and his family's ethics concerns around their crypto deals back into the spotlight. Do you think we get to common ground on those three things before midterms?
I mean, but for that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the theater? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. There are all these massive headwinds by TradFi against crypto getting normalized and getting regulatory clarity. So that's one force at play here that is enabling all these other forces, all these other things you've mentioned, to have more impact on restraining the legislative branch from acting. I think we not only get a market structure bill before the midterms, I think we get a market structure bill before Memorial Day. And I think the Senate will act before Easter. I think it comes together. There's a major emphasis on this. What we saw, you heard from Patrick Witt, about the group he brought together on yield. Crypto came in and said, look, we want to negotiate. We actually want a reasonable compromise here and a reasonable approach to yield. And the bank sat there and listened and offered nothing. Well, that's not going to last long in Washington if the group that is holding it up, the banking industry, is unwilling to negotiate on something that has to be resolved to unlock market structure. It will be resolved. It's going to be rough going, but it's going to be the president will have a bill signing ceremony on market structure, on clarity, before Memorial Day.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
That's a headline.
Well, look, if Kalshi were here, I think I'd put a few bucks on that.
I think we could probably find a prediction market for you to put a few bucks on. We got to let you go, but I mean that was yield. What about ethics and DeFi? Do you think that?
Look, without DeFi, you don't have market structure. Without DeFi, you don't actually have crypto. Without DeFi, you don't actually all the benefit of crypto is negated without some understanding of the properties of this. What policymakers need to understand is that crypto is unlike TradFi. You can actually see what's happening. You can see it for yourself, and that is its own regulator. And so the market participants can see and can act in accordance with real information, unlike what we had in the financial crisis and what led to the financial crisis. Opaque markets, which actually begat more and more pain during the financial crisis. The clarity here is in the blockchain and that builds market discipline. That means you can have DeFi and market participants know what's going on, number one. Number two, on ethics, this shouldn't be it shouldn't be about one person for a short period of time. It should be about permanent policy for all governmental officials. I think you can resolve that. I think you can resolve that in a way sufficient for Democratic members to be able to vote for a market structure bill. I'm optimistic about that.
Chairman, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
at the
Jeff.
desk. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.